Hey guys, how are we? Well, you're lucky today. You get two videos in one day. It's just that it's a particularly important news day. And the other good thing is that the weather is actually behaving itself. So we don't have some massive storm blowing through this afternoon. Anyway, so something that's really important that I wanted to cover. So there is Democrats in the US government at the moment who are pushing for the US to issue Ukraine with $650 billion, but not from the US, but from the International Monetary Fund using SDR, special drawing rights. Now, the significance of this is, and don't let it be lost on you, if the IMF did this, it would mean the end of the US dollar as the global reserve currency. The hypothesis of a few people over the last couple of years is that the new international trading currency will be the SDR that is controlled by the IMF. So very, very important. There is one particular Democrat, I think she's in the House of Reps for Washington. I forget her name. As insignificant as she is now, she may actually successfully bring down the US as the global superpower that it currently is, if she's successful. So keep an eye on that, because if they are successful in issuing $650 billion to Ukraine in SDR, that is the end of the US as we know it. The whole global system will shift in a day. So keep that in mind. The other thing that I wanted to sort of address is that, you know, as I said in previous videos, you're going to see central banks increase interest rates at a rapid rate now. So last night we saw the Canadians increase the interest rate by 1%, New Zealand by 50 basis points or 0.5%. And, you know, we're seeing this right across the global spectrum at the moment, particularly in developed economies. The reason for this is, as I've said before, in response to COVID-19, a lot of the central banks went out of their way to stimulate their economies, and they put more and more money into the system. So they did fiscal augmentation. The problem with this is that it causes inflation. When we went through the pandemic, because everybody was in lockdown, it slowed down the velocity of the M1 money supply. That meant that there wasn't as many transactions taking place at that particular point in time. As we've come out of lockdown and people are starting to travel internationally again and make more and more purchases, you're starting to see the velocity of the M1 money supply increase significantly. That has inflationary pressure on the amount of currency that's already in the system. So, where is all this going? Well, as I said to you before, central banks are going to try and bring interest rates at 2% above the official inflation rate. So in the US today, it was declared that inflation was 9.1%, so you're looking at 11.1. New Zealand is 6.95, so you're going to see official interest rates rise to 8.95, and so on. I think it's similar in Australia as well. So keep an eye on this, because this is going to significantly impact the bottom dollar, your disposable income, and other people's disposable income. At the moment, and this is a really key indicator here, I just wanted to use this as an example. So the UK at the moment has significant indicators saying that it's going through stagflation. What is stagflation? Stagflation is when your economy, its GDP or gross domestic product, or what it's producing, is not increasing. So it's just staying stagnant or decreasing. You're also seeing that in wage growth. So keep an eye on the unions at the moment, because they're going to significantly increase activity. Unionization is going to significantly increase in response to stagflation, but also inflation. So your purchasing power is being reduced because of inflation. That means that they're going to push for further and further wage growth. So watch this stuff with unionization. And unions absolutely kill GDP, because they hamstring the economy. Socialism doesn't work. And I'm all for fair wages, right? I agree with that 100%. Wages need to be fair and equitable, absolutely. But when you have militant unionization, and I've been saying this for years, you've got real problems, and that's where we're heading. You wait for another 12, 18 months when things get really tight. So keep an eye on all this at the moment. I just wanted to do another video because it's all there in the news. You can see it, but how does it all fit together? And I'm just trying to help people understand how all this fits together, where it's going, because the interest rates in Australia are going to continue to increase. And I just saw a hit piece by the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the ABC. It's one of the most liberal rags known to mankind. I think there's only a few worse, and that would be SBS, NPR, National Public Radio in the US, and maybe BBC, which is an absolute propaganda machine. But, you know, they did another hit piece on the central banks today in the ABC, and, you know, this reporter comes out and she says, oh, well, the central bankers have got egg on their face. So, and it's just actually absolutely laughable, because it's very unprofessional language, but it's very, very telling that they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. And this is the ABC's business editor. As I said, interest rates, they're going to about 2% above the official inflation rate. In the US, 9.1, so you're seeing 11.1. This is not going to end. And as I said to you, if you watched the 10-year bond yield in the US and in other countries, you're seeing the 10-year bond yields, they're starting to go up and up and up as well. We did see them momentarily go down in the US from 3.4 to, I think it was 2.75 or 2.8. And that is indicative of the central banks buying more and more debt. That's more money in the system and more pressure on inflation. And as I said to you, this is not finished. This is going to get a lot worse sooner rather than later. So anyway, look guys, if you haven't liked and subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Go to overseasexile.com, and when the little pop-up comes on and says, hey, subscribe, hit the subscribe, because I will stay in contact with you. Thanks for watching, and as I said, hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll chat with you soon.